Hey guys, and welcome back. My voice is definitely a lot better, although there's still like a little bit of something there. I've been sick for quite a while. It's been a few weeks, but I have some medicine here that I've heard it's very good for your throat. It's whiskey. I'm drinking whiskey. Cheers to you. So for today, I thought I could talk to you about the movies I watched in June, and then we can finally be caught up with my movie bucket list. For this month, I saw 4 movies that were all very interesting, but it was mostly a David Fincher themed month, which I was not planning. But yes, I have a lot of interesting things to talk about, and let's get started. The first movie I saw in June was Rushmore by Wes Anderson. A friend recommended me to see Rushmore, which I do believe was his first movie. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I did enjoy it, but I think it's a little difficult to see some of his recent movies and then go back to the very beginning, because obviously you will find that his style is still just a little bit rough, as not as polished as you already know it. So Rushmore is a very prestigious school, and our main character is probably one of the worst students there. He's flunking out of every class. However, he is the king of extracurricular activities. He has founded every club you can imagine. He writes plays. He is, I think, the president of the debate team. He's just part of so many very cultural extracurricular activities. That was difficult to say. But it turns out, because his grades are so low, he is on probation, but he does not want to leave the school. It's like the best thing that's ever happened to him. He wholly believes that he should be there. He loves being a part of it. But when a new, very cute and lovely teacher comes into school, his focus shifts, and he's not so much focused about staying in Rushmore, but maybe winning the love of this lady. I really like the premise of a kid who's clearly very smart, sophisticated, and cultured, but somehow just doesn't stick to academic rules and just doesn't follow it or doesn't find it interesting. It bores him. I think it's a really fun way of showing how everything that school tells you or you think matters doesn't matter. You know, you can find intelligence and education in so many ways. He's clearly a very smart person. He's just having a little bit of trouble like balancing his, imagination and his creative side with the more practical side. It's definitely a good movie. I don't think it's my favorite Wes Anderson movie, but I enjoyed watching it. I think it's one of those movies that you get out of it more as you keep watching it. I don't think it's a movie I will watch recently, but I think it's a movie that I will definitely enjoy watching again, and I'll probably fall more in love with the characters. I think the kid was awesome, the teacher's great, Bill Murray's character, everything you could expect of Bill Murray, but he drives the plot so well, and he's such a nice, odd pairing with the kid and their friendship. I really enjoyed it. The next movie I saw was Gorillas in the Mist. This movie is a biography of Dian Fossey, who went to Africa to study the decrease of the gorilla population in the mountains, and she fought countries and laws and people to defend these animals and make sure that they didn't become extinct. Dian Fossey is played by Sigourney Weaver, and it's just, the more I see this woman in roles, the more I love her. She's just so ballsy and strong and independent. It's such an interesting character because she's so vulnerable in many ways. She's in a foreign country. She decided to pretty much give up everything she knew in her life to go and do this, but she had no expertise in gorillas whatsoever, so she's going there not knowing much at all, and the way she just became so tenacious and understood these animals and built a relationship of trust with them, the way they regarded her and that human contact, it's just amazing to watch. And it was in a time where jungle movies were very popular, and I really loved them. Whenever there was a Tarzan movie or Out of Africa, just anything in that sort of field of movies, I really love, and I can't believe I hadn't seen Gorillas in the Mist. It's very heartwarming, it's sad in many places, it's fun as well. It's definitely worth a watch, and to recognize the work of a woman, the life's work of this woman, and how she actually changed things for the better. And now moving to the David Fincher movies I saw this month. The first one I saw was Zodiac. This is a movie that I've always heard about, but no one has ever actually recommended it to me. The movie talks about the crimes committed by the Zodiac killer, who still remains unknown, and the story is told from 2 very major perspectives: the police department and the press covering the entire case. The movie is really, really long. The moment I saw the time of this movie, I was like, I don't know, but It's good because it's like finding pieces of a puzzle, so it keeps you interested the entire time. You find little things here and there and you start sort of connecting things, but it's always just like right out of reach. There's always something that you're just not getting to fix this, to understand it, and it just keeps you hooked in from the very beginning. The movie's based on details by the case as well, so what you see is the information that was gathered, the way people testify to it, and it's amazing and frustrating as well to see how these crimes like lasted for many years, like throughout a decade, and how frustrating it must have been for the people working on it. I also love how David Fincher explored the fact that certain crimes and criminals become very famous and very popular with the press, and we give them way more importance than to say people who die constantly every day. Thousands of lives are lost, even in the same city of San Francisco where these crimes happen, and they don't pay attention to them because the Zodiac killer has a name, there's a mystery around it, it's entertaining. I thought that was a really interesting play. It's sort of like saying, you know what, it doesn't matter, we don't have to give him that much attention, but at the same time, he cannot go away without paying for the crimes he committed. I think it's one of David Fincher's most polished movie, even if it's not one of the most entertaining ones. His style in this is very gritty, and I think it goes very well for the stories that he picks, like Seven and Gone Girl. The color palette, it was just like everything was muted tones of browns and grays, but then there was pops of yellow in a tie, or the press building where everybody was working, and there was blue as well here and there. It was so perfectly tied together, and then he just kept adding these sounds every now and then to like add urgency, like a phone ringing constantly in the middle of a very important conversation, or the tap of water, just like very little things like that that add urgency and danger to a scene. It's something that you pick up and appreciate from a director, and I personally found the movie very entertaining, but if you didn't, I think you can't deny that it's one of his best work. It's just so structured and clean. I think it's a fantastic crime and investigation movie. Great performances by everybody involved. Mark Ruffalo as the detective, Jake Gyllenhaal as, you know, the guy who gets very obsessed by the case, and Robert Downey Jr. as the writer who's kind of like keeping track of the entire case. It's wonderful. I don't think people talk about it enough. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It will keep you very intrigued to the very end. Now for the final movie I saw this month, I'm very happy to say that I, Maria, have finally seen Fight Club. I'm sad to say that this review will probably not be objective because I am quite upset at many things, and it's probably nobody's fault. I have a lot of issues when I watch this movie. I already knew the ending. That totally destroys so much for you, I think. So like many 1999, 2000 movies, it's about a guy with a stable job, a normal guy in good health, who just, I guess, means that something wrong with him, like he's having some kind of life crisis. So in his very boring, ordinary life, he meets this out-of-the-ordinary guy played by none other than Brad Pitt. I mean, who's more not ordinary than Brad Pitt? And they develop a very weird friendship, and from then on develop something called Fight Club, where men beat the shit out of each other to release their frustrations from their boring, mundane lives and their stupid jobs and being just slaves to consumerism and capitalism, etc., etc. There are many things I do enjoy about this movie. First off, I love the narration because the narration is so interesting. It tells you that the book is really interesting. So that definitely hooks you in, and you do understand the concept of Fight Club. I do understand what they're trying to do. You know, it's sort of like being a god in the middle of a very boring life. You know, you get to fight this guy and release all this energy and this anger in a way where everybody has consent over this violence. You're not just beating some random person. But then things get out of control because that's what happens with anarchy. But after a certain point, it just feels whiny, and it just feels like annoying that they're complaining about all this freaking privilege that they have, but can't find a better way to make a use out of it. But the solutions that end up happening and the way they start thinking, it's just basically the same thing. They become slaves to just a different type of idea, basically. You just are mindless people following a leader and doing stupid stuff because that's what he's telling you to do. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I didn't like Tyler Durden from the very beginning. I can understand why he's interesting. I can understand why you would want to be his friend. I totally get that. But after a certain point, he's just the guy in college telling you, hey, you seem like an intelligent person, I'm going to talk to you about atheism and anarchy and all this bullshit rebellious stuff because I'm so smart. You know, just like people who are showing off. That's what he felt like to me. And I do understand that this is kind of the point of the movie, that it makes you feel that after a certain point, anarchy is just not the answer. Blowing up shit, it's not the answer. Hitting people in the face because you're angry, it's just not the answer. Being out of control is not going to solve the fact that you feel empty and bored in life. I do think it's the kind of movie that I will watch again and really enjoy it once again because it's spectacular. The way David Fincher directed it, the dialogue, and the dynamic between these two characters is just fantastic. But I just think people blew it so out of proportion for me and just talked about it as this movie that would change your life that it didn't reach that expectation. And that's not the movie's fault. It's just like this just preconceived idea that I had about the movie. So guys, those were the movies I saw in June. Let me know what you think about them in the comment section down below if you have seen them. And now I'm going to pick the movies I'm going to watch in July, and I'm short on time. I only have 10 days, but I think I can do it. I picked this freaking like pickle jar thing for my movies and I regret it. Clerks. Oh, this is going to be fun. Edward Scissorhands. Ooh. We also have Old Boy. I have been postponing this movie for so long because I feel like my soul will be shattered when I watch it. And last but not least, we have a purple one, which I don't remember what this means. Was this horror? Was this comedy? No. It's Vertigo by Hitchcock, which is good because I watched The Birds recently, so it'll be nice to see this one. So guys, those are the movies I will be watching in July. If you want to check out the entire list that I have for my bucket list movies, you can go to my letterbox and you can leave suggestions right there in the comment section, or you can actually find me on Twitter if you look for Cine Club channel. Leave all your suggestions over there as well. Well guys, that's everything for this movie bucket list video. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a like if you did. Share it with some friends who are very big movie fans. I would love that. And if you haven't yet and you're new to my channel, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that red button right there for more weekly videos. But for now, I'm going to say goodbye. I hope you have a great week. I hope you get to watch something in the theaters, and I will see you on our next movie date. Cheers, love. Bye.